set. So we'll call this meeting of the Board of Selectmen open at 7 o'clock on Tuesday, September 13th. And before we get to all of our business, I'll ask everybody to please rise.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. We have a number of hearings to go through here at the beginning. So I'll ask if there's any representatives for Mavericks to come to the table.
Mr. Chairman, good evening. Attorney Douglas Sears, representing Route 38 Entertainment, Inc., otherwise known as Mavericks.
Okay, so we have a couple of issues on the table tonight. The first is relative to unpaid taxes and various bills, and the other is relative to some paperwork that needed to be filed with the ABBC, right? I think that's what we're at. So ABCC, yes, thank you. I'll get those acronyms right eventually. Okay, so let's take them in that order. So we had a meeting July that we discussed this issue, and there was outstanding tax bills and water bills, etc. And we received a letter dated July 19th indicating that all of the real estate tax that is due will be paid. And so why don't you give us an update as to where we are with that, please?
Mr. Chairman,
yes,
just
Mr.
as a
Johnson.
point of order, this was a scheduled hearing.
Oh, yes, thank you.
So I would ask, just for the clarity, that the record reflect the notice.
Yeah, this is a public hearing. Thank you, Mr. Johnson, for mentioning that. Well, the public hearing actually is listed, I think, just for the transfer stock and dealing with that.
That's correct.
So, but it is also a hearing relative to the licenses, all of the various licenses held by Route 38 Entertainment Corporation. So again.
Well, let's start with the stock transfer. What the status has been is that Richard W. Proctor, had 51% ownership of the stock. His daughter, Renee Proctor, had 49. She passed away in March. Mr. Proctor wants to transfer all of the stock to her son, Mark, and his grandson, Mark Proctor. And that's what the request is. We've put in the appropriate paperwork for the Alcohol Beverage Control Commission. We have not received a certificate of good standing. He has a issue which he is resolving as recently as today with the Department of Revenue on meals tax, and that the certificate of good standing will be approved once that is paid in full. What we're looking for is for this board to support this family business, the transfer of stock from a grandfather and a deceased daughter to the grandson. This is for Route 38 Entertainment, Inc., also known as Mavericks.
Okay. And I think also the tax-related issues?
Okay, on August 4th, there was a payment of $15,000 made. At that time, there was owing, to my recollection, $19,084.49. Now, this is not owed by Route 38 Entertainment, Inc. This is owed by March and Main Realty Trust, which is the landlord. It's my understanding that March and Main Realty Trust owed a water sewer bill of $11,458.88. That his property tax is the only issue that is owed by Route 38 Entertainment, Inc., and that is $1,057.92. Now, Mr. Proctor is aware that starting a couple of months from now, in November, that if Mavericks is to continue to have all sorts of, of licenses, pool, alcoholic beverages, common victuals license, and all these, that this board is very likely, like 101%, not going to issue licenses if there remains any monies owed. And he is, I've sat on this board when this has come up, but seeing how he's been pulling himself out of various holes in some real estate ventures, I have full confidence that he'll be able to get this money in because he wants to have this business continue. And we're talking about 10 or dozen Tewksbury employees that are working at Maverick. So what I would ask the board, in an exercise of its discretion, to allow the stock, or to approve the stock transfer, and to recognize that a $15,000 payment has been made, to recognize that it is the landlord, March and Main Realty, and not the tenant of Route 38 Entertainment, Inc., that owes the lion's share of the outstanding balances, and that the action of the board take really, no action on any suspension until time has run to that point where licenses need to be renewed, and he's either going to, have it paid or he's not going to have it paid at that particular time. So that's my proposal to, through you, Mr. Chairman, to the board and to the town manager.
So, Mr. Montori, can you update us on, as far as the numbers that Attorney Sears just mentioned? I know the statute calls at this point, and as was noted, this will change as of November. But as of right now, all taxes and fees within 12 months must be current. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And are we there?
For the 12-month period, there's still an outstanding balance of $197.12. But then within the 12 months, which the state statute doesn't allow for, when you're providing a license or approving a license or renewing a license, the total owed is $31,763,000.57. So in question would be the $197.12. So what I spoke to Attorney Sears about today, and I would recommend to the board, is to approve that the paperwork submitted tonight for the transfer of stock move forward to the ABCC. Obviously, all your approvals are subject to the ABCC approving the documents. But again, putting Mr. Sears and his client on notice that come renewal time, the law will have changed. The 12-month period goes away. You need to be current to that day, not, talking $1, be current.
Well, you said to me earlier it would be 50 cents, so I guess you're bending.
So I think just so we're clear and there's no misunderstanding next time, so.
Currently, we have a little less than $200 outstanding that is relevant for the current statute.
Correct.
Before I turn to my colleagues, it is a public hearing. I'll ask if there's any commentary from residents that are in the audience. Seeing nobody jump up, then I'll open up if there's any comments or questions from my colleagues.
I just have one question.
Mr. Stronach?
Just to clarify, Mr. Montori, this is subject, even if we approve the record transfer stock, this is subject to the ABCC's approval. So
Correct.
this is not the last step in the
No.
approval process, correct?
No, correct. As what happened in March, the board approved everything then. And when it went to the ABCC, that's where it had its problems. So it's not uncommon, and it takes some time, but as far as we can tell, and as far as everyone that's looked at it thinks it's in order for us, but the ABCC could have something different, but that's out of our control.
So technically, if the ABC has an issue, this could come
Comes
back
back
to
to
us
you.
again, correct? Okay, thank you. That's my only question. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Yeah,
Mr. Gay?
Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Chairman. What date in November? You said November?
The statute changes around November 9th, and then, so it'll all be so the new law will be in effect then.
So your recommendation is by then, they should be current and up to date?
Well, by the time you undertake your renewal of licenses, which is the end of November, beginning of December, when you start renewing licenses, they should really be current by then.
Okay. But just my opinion, I've been on the board for a while, and so has Todd, and Doug was on the board at the same time as us. This is a recurring issue for Mavericks, and I think the board's being more than fair if they do what you recommend. But I believe that if it goes past that and Mavericks becomes delinquent in this area again, that this board should take the appropriate action. I think that we're being gracious to even have this discussion, because this is not something that this board should take lightly. Other businesses in town keep everything current, and this is just not, in my opinion, just not acceptable, but I understand the circumstances, so my opinion is I think that would be fair to go to that distance, but not beyond that. That's it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, just a point of clarification, because I want to make sure I understand we're voting on the right subject matter, and Mr. Sears, through you, might need to clarify, but the hearing notice pertains to a transfer of stock, new officers, and directors, but the documentation seems to be pertaining to just a transfer of stock. So I just want to clarify, for purposes of any action that we might take, are we only being asked this evening to act on the transfer of stock? Or are you proposing new officers and directors as well?
The only noticed event was transfer of stock, and that we've established before that Mark Proctor is the manager, and when I went to the Selectmen's office a while back, that it was, I would say, accepted that what is posted with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts establishes who the officers and directors are, and that would suffice.
Thank you for the clarification.
And maybe just ask a general point of order. In Tewksbury, when a landlord owes taxes and a tenant either doesn't or owes just a small amount, is it generally the practice of the board to question the license of anyone at that particular address in order to address issues such as we have here? So, not to be overly repetitious, but we got a landlord that owes a lot, and we get a tenant that owes very little. But this is all put into one package as opposed to a package for a landlord and a package for a tenant. So was wondering what the established procedure is.
We'd have to look into that. I will note, is it my understanding that both of those two entities are owned by the same person?
No, because we have now the transfer of stock, okay? Mavericks itself would be owned by Mark Proctor, a stockholder, and that the March and Main is owned by Cherish, I've forgotten her married name, Proctor, who is a daughter. And Richard Proctor has no interest legally in these entities. And he's the one we, have been talking for a long time as to the liability he may have to get these paid. So there's some, question as to into what area the discretion of the board reaches.
Just to add, and I would not in any way want to imply that I'm the last word on this subject, but my recollection over the 9 years I've sat on this board is that if there is a tax delinquency on a property and there happens to be a tenant on the property who holds a license, that in the past has been subject to potential revocation. The board, at least in my experience, and I can only speak for myself, I have looked at that with maybe a slightly different view, because if the landlord is delinquent, should the license holder necessarily be punished for that? However, they have the contract as a tenant with the landlord, and presumably they're paying rent. They should enforce their agreement.
Not to waste time with hypotheticals here, but if you have a mini mall, and the owner of the mall goes, belly up because it owes taxes, does that then potentially void the licenses of the whole range of licenses until paid?
Potentially, it's within the jurisdiction, I think, of the selectmen to potentially suspend or revoke the license for that purpose, yes.
Okay. I just wanted to make that clear.
That's just, again, we don't have
It's,
town council.
it might be, I would like to, if possible, just informally, if I could be informed so that I can convey that to my client.
I think we can discuss that with town council and get some guidance on that. But I'd be hesitant to go down the road of hypotheticals too far, given that we are talking about a property that is at least owned by within the family, and this is not just a mini mall going out and an unrelated business owner being affected. So I understand the premise and could have sympathy in that situation, but I don't think that's what we're dealing with exactly. So, but we'll get town council to get some.
I would appreciate that.
On that.
Yep.
Okay.
I just have one last question.
Anything further, Mr. Johnson? No. Mr. Kramer?
Has the Alcohol Beverage Commission accepted the new board of directors that's being presented to them?
It has been sent over there. I don't know whether it has been accepted or not, but I don't understand what would be a reason for not accepting something that's established with the Commonwealth Secretary of Commonwealth's office. So I don't know.
Just curiosity, because I mean that's why we're back here again,
Right.
because they did not accept it the first time, and then it came back.
I don't think it was that they didn't accept. They accepted this. The transfer of stock, I guess, was looked at. I don't think that was one of the issues that was not accepted. So.
Okay, I'm good.
Okay, so we have in front of us a request for approval pending ABCC approval on a transfer of stock. We've dealt with the tax issue. They seem to be essentially up to date, short a little less than $200 that we've, I imagine we are okay with at the moment. So at that point, I would entertain any motions relative to the ABCC application paperwork.
I will make a motion to approve the transfer of stock as presented to the board.
Okay, we have a motion to approve.
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the transfer stock application. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Chair votes aye as well, that's unanimous. And obviously, we will be back in touch related to the tax issue and with relation to the change in the statute there, so thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
So we can go to our next public hearing for Settlers Way Street acceptance. I'll read the notice. Pursuant to Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 82, Section 22, and Section 23, notice is given that the Board of Selectmen will conduct a public hearing on September 13th, 2016 at 7:15 in Town Hall, 1009 Main Street, Tewksbury, Mass. For the purpose of laying out as town way a certain road, namely Settlers Way. By accepting Settlers Way, the town is allowed to expend Chapter 90 monies to make improvements to this road. Okay. All right, so we have a few guests. If you could speak into the microphone, since our recording secretary will be doing this from the video. Just
Thank
to
you,
state
Mr.
your
Chairman.
names for the
Dick
record,
Cuco
please.
here, representing the applicant.
I'm Mark Ginsburg, proponent.
Mr. Chairman, we have got a sign-off last night from the planning board that all of the improvements that have been designed on Settlers Way have been completed. We also got a letter from the Department of Public Works and the town engineer that he's satisfied that all of the improvements have been completed in accordance with the plans, and therefore we respectfully request that the selectmen move forward with the street acceptance for Settlers Way at town meeting coming up.
Thank you. Mr. Montori, we're all set with DPW? and-
Everything is all set. We spoke today. DPW is all set. The planning board voted last night, so everything's in order for the board to vote to accept the layout of the road and the street acceptance.
Before I ask if my colleagues have anything to ask, this is a public hearing, so if there's any input from the public, I assume we did not receive anything in writing.
I've not seen it.
Any members? Seeing none, okay, at that point, I'll open it to my colleagues if there's any questions regarding the application in front of us.
You have no questions?
I have no questions.
All right, hearing none, then I'll entertain any motions relative to accepting Settlers Way.
I'll move that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, we have a motion to accept Settlers Way and a second by Mr. Johnson. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Chair votes aye as well, it's unanimous.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much.
Okay. Past 7:20 we are, okay, so the next one, another public hearing, this one is relative to a poll petition on Herbert Street. So again, I'll read the notice. You are hereby notified that a hearing will be held by the Board of Selectmen of the Town of Tewksbury in the Selectmen's Main Hall, Town Hall, 1009 Main Street, at 7:20 PM on Tuesday, September 13th, 2016, on the petition of National Grid, Plan Number 222-10122, Herbert Street, National Grid to install approximately plus or minus 58 feet of conduits from pole 1 at Herbert Street to house number 11. And do we have a representative from National Grid here? Please, if you could again state your name right into the microphone.
Joe Antilli, National Grid, North Andover.
Okay, so can you just give us a quick rundown of what we're doing here?
There's a 11 Herbert Street in Tewksbury, is the existing residence, and they have an overhead service. They would like to put it on the ground and upgrade their service. National Grid's willing to do the work and help the customer out.
This is a public hearing. Are there any commentary from the public? Questions? Can you just come up to the table here, there's a microphone.
This is just a question, because I live like diagonal across from my neighbors. And my question was, do they leave,
Sorry, just can you state your name into the microphone?
oh, Gail Poole.
I'm sorry,
I'm
Gail.
at 10 Herbert.
I'm sorry, Gail, I didn't catch your last name. I need.
Pool, like swimming pool to
Okay,
me.
got it. Thank you, Gail. Sorry.
And you're a 10 Herbert, is that?
Yes.
Herbert, so you're,
See, I've never done
poll
this
is
before.
actually,
That's quite all right, you're doing well.
Thanks.
Better than we do most of the time.
You do fine.
the pole is located actually right on the corner of your property.
Yes, well, it's really not the corner, but it is at the corner of the property we use. My only concern is the berm, because they have to dig near the telephone pole to get down, right? And I just want to know if things get put back the way they found them, because I need the berm there for the rainwater, because I live below street level.
So, you have,
Absolutely. It would always be repaired by National Grid to Gail's approval.
Yeah, well, I figured it would be. I
And to the
just had
city
confirm it.
engineer, usually looks at it before and makes sure, and the city engineer and the DPW tells National Grid, this is what you're required to repair, and, which would normally be the.
Okay, other than that, part of my yard would go right down into the swamp, so we don't want that. Okay, that's it.
thank you very much. for
Thank
coming
you.
out. Anybody else have any questions or comments about the issue? Okay, at that, I'll open it up to my.
Okay, thank you, yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Quick question through you, Mr. Chairman, to the Grid's representative. Is there a functional reason why the homeowner wants this underground? I presume they have power currently. Is that
They do have power currently overhead, they wanted to put it on the ground while they're updating.
while they're updating
Yes.
the property?
Yes.
Okay. So it's just a preference issue, not really a...
The preference issue.
There's not a real, a need because of any kind of service?
No, underground's never required, but, you know, it's just a preference issue and why they're upgrading to do the job at the time would be obviously cost efficient.
And the homeowner absorbs the expense of doing this through you?
Yes.
They do, okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, were there any other abutters that need to be informed of this, or is that something that is not needed in this issue?
It's a dead-end street. There's only, Gia, I guess she left.
So she
Yes,
was
there's
the
only,
only person that was-
yeah, it's a dead-end street, you turn and it's only 2 houses. That's it, and there's nobody else there.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Any questions? I do have one question. It looks like you're gonna put it under the road. Has DPW been consulted as far as, are you gonna trench the road, or is it going somehow?
They would trench the road across, yeah. And normally, when we file with the town, it goes to the engineer, and if they green light it, they give it to the DPW. If they come back with their recommendations, goes back to the city clerk says, okay, we'll put it on the council board. It's a normal procedure.
Any other questions? Okay, then I'll entertain any motions relative to the poll petition we have in front of us.
I'll make a motion to accept the poll petition as presented for 11 Howard Street.
We have a motion
I'll second that.
and a second to accept the poll petition in front of us, or to approve, excuse me. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes aye as well.
Thank you, have a nice night.
All right, so, the next item on our agenda is committee appointments. We've been at this now since late May, with our committee appointments. We have gotten a couple of new applications, and before we address those, and then we also have an issue with the Green Committee, that we have 2 members that need to be reappointed if they're to continue to serve. But before we do that, I would just actually ask my colleagues to entertain the notion that perhaps going forward from here, that we decide not to continue to look at appointments. The committees are essentially full for the most part, and short of a significant vacancy, due to unforeseen circumstances, that we don't continue this, drag out this appointment process throughout the year. I know that was our practice last year, was to sort of close it out by the summer and be done with it. So I don't know if we need a vote to that effect, but if we're all...
I'll offer a motion, Mr. Chairman, to close the appointment process for the current fiscal year, unless the board at its discretion chooses to reopen it. And I'd ask through you to the town manager and his staff that we post something on the website indicating same, provided this vote passes.
Have a motion then?
I'll second that, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, and a second to close committee appointments essentially at the end of this meeting and make notification on the website. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes aye as well. So that's unanimous. So once we're done with this tonight, we'll leave appointments for a while. So again, on the Green Committee, this committee has become much more staff-driven, but it does have Tom Cook from the FinCom and Loretta Ryan.
Yes, they're on as residents, not by any committee member.
Right, but they've been long-term members of that committee and have an interest to continue, so in order for them to do that, we would have to reappoint them, so unless there's any discussion relative to that, I'll take any motions relative to their appointment.
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chairman, to appoint those two individuals through June 30 of 2017.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to reappoint Tom Cook and Loretta Ryan to the Green Committee through June 30th of 17. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes aye as well, it's unanimous. And we did receive two applications kind of under the wire as it were tonight. And I think we can take them individually. The first was Mr. Hanson Bishat, I think, Bishat, I don't know how to say his last name, I apologize. He has applied for, or was interested in two committees, the Economic Development Committee and the Zoning Board of Appeals. I conversed with him via email. Oh, and he's here. Oh, I didn't see that, sorry. So I did converse by email, and I'm glad to see that he's here tonight, that his interest was specifically, or more focused on the EDC, is that right, sir?
Yes.
Unless there's any questions for the applicant, we can take action as we see fit.
First of all, I would like to say thank you for sending that email with the questions, because I wasn't able to get in touch with you myself, so that was very helpful. And if there are no other questions, I would like to make a motion to appoint Hanson to the Economic Development Committee for a period of June 30th, 2017.
Okay,
I will second that.
all right, we have a motion and a second to appoint Hanson Bishat? Bishat.
Bishat, yeah.
To the Economic Development Committee through a term ending on June 30th of 2017. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes aye as well. Thank you for stepping up, and good luck on the committee.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And one more, the final committee assignment, at least of this time frame. We also received an application from Hannah Oliver, and she was interested in the Massachusetts Cultural Council. We do have a significant number of vacancies on that committee, and again, I conversed with her via email. Seems very interested in the committee and getting involved in the community, which is, of course, always a good thing. So unless there's any discussion, I'll entertain any motions relative to that as well.
I'll make a motion to appoint Hannah Oliver to the Cultural Council until June 30th, 2017.
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to appoint Hannah Oliver to the Mass Cultural Council. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes aye as well. And that will conclude all of our appointments, at least until probably, yeah, well, until May, I hope.
Mr. Chairman, we
Yes,
have
please.
recently received a couple of resignations, and I would just again like to ask through you to the town manager, that we send out a recognition for people's efforts, and just let them know that we appreciate the time that they were given. All of those resignations have been due to prior commitments in their personal life, so just want to recognize everybody's hard work and how much we appreciate people stepping forward to do this work.
Well said. Okay. All right, at this point, I'll ask if there's any residents that have any topics that they'd like to bring to the board. My kids are busy with their video games, so they don't have anything to say.
Your legislative assistant.
Is that what they are? Okay.
Yes.
Moving on to the next one. So October, we have a request from Chief Sheehan relative to the Substance Use Prevention and Education Week. And the chief is asking us to declare the week of October 16th, Substance Use Prevention and Education Week 2016. This is I believe, something that's been funded over the years through grants that the chief has been successful in obtaining, which is very common. The chief is very good at finding money through grant applications. And it's been several years, it's fifth year according to the letter, that they've been doing this. So any discussion or commentary related to that?
I would like to make a comment.
Please.
First of all, I know that this starts on Sunday night with the vigil, and I believe that vigil is held not only in Tewksbury, but many communities across the street. And as the chief very eloquently outlines, this is becoming, unfortunately, a devastating occurrence in across the country. So one of the most powerful things that I have done as a parent in this community is participate in the sessions that are held at the high school. And if there are people who have not had the opportunity to participate in those, they are extremely powerful. And the work that is being done in Tewksbury regarding this, the If Only video that was shot here a couple of years ago, I mean, I'm very proud of the work that the chief, which he spearheads, but along with the DPW, the Department of Public Health, the school department. I mean, I don't think that there's anyone on your staff that doesn't participate in this in one shape or form, and it's just an impressive undertaking. And unfortunately, it doesn't cure the problem, but education's the only real hold that we can do that is within our control. So I just want to encourage people to participate, because it's a whole week long of events, and there's a lot of things that people can do all around. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Any other,
Jim?
Mr. Johnson?
Yeah, just a couple quick comments. Just to be clear, because I think Mrs. Stronach referenced Sunday night. This is the week of October 16th. I think she
I was
just
talking about
misspoke,
the
but
vigil.
The vigil is on the
yeah,
first.
the week that we're being asked to declare is the week of October 16th, with the vigil on Sunday night, October 16th, in the second paragraph.
Yep.
And the other thing that I think should be stated publicly, because it is quite significant, is the second line in the correspondence, which speaks to since January 1st of this year. Just in Tewksbury alone, we've had 57 overdoses and 12 related deaths here in town. So I know, and I know my colleagues, that this is not a Tewksbury issue. This is a national epidemic, if you will. But those numbers are pretty stark when you consider we're a community of 28,000 roughly people. That's a pretty significant statistic, worth noting.
Sobering.
Yeah, I'll just add again, commenting again on what Mrs. Stronach said regarding the work of particularly Chief Sheehan, but his entire police department in this area. I think they are on the leading edge of this issue in a way that really sets us apart. And as I mentioned at the time when we had the chief in here for his goals, I think he's become as much a public health official as he's become a public safety official on this topic. And I don't think we can thank him enough for the amount of dedication and work he puts towards this particular issue. And as was noted, this is a national issue. This is not a Tewksbury-specific problem. So with that, barring any further commentary, I'll look for any motions relative to the declaration of October 16th through the 22nd as a Substance Use Prevention and Education Week.
I'll make the motion, Mr. Chairman.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to declare the week of October 16th Substance Use Prevention and Education Week 2016. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes aye as well. Okay. Moving right along. The next item on our agenda is a common victualler application. This is for the Mayfield Indian Cuisine that I believe filled the space where Brave Troops Buffet was previously located. And they seem to have everything in order. Everything's in order with our office relative to this application, I assume. Any questions or discussion?
I'll make a motion to approve the license, common vicular license as presented for Mayfield Indian Cuisine.
I'll second that, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion and a second to approve the application. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes aye as well. Moving right along, the next item is relative to the, is it the third annual Harvest
Yes, that's
Festival?
correct, yep.
Third annual Harvest Festival, this coming Sunday. And we have an application by Kara Ryan Corporation, doing business as TJ Callahan's, to do a one-day liquor, wine, and malt application for the 12 to 4 timeframe on the grounds down at Livingston Street for the Harvest Festival. And I believe they've done this last couple of years as well.
Yes, they have. This will be the third year doing that, correct.
So, any comments or questions related to that?
I'd just like to note for the record that the police chief has also signed off on this. I have no issues. So, you want to make the motion?
Sure, I'll make a motion to approve the one-day liquor license for Kara Ryan Corporation, as TJ Callahan's for the Fall Harvest Festival on September 18th from 12 to 4 p.m.
Motion
Second?
and a second to approve the one-day liquor, wine, and malt application. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes aye as well. Unanimous. Okay, Mr. Town Manager, you have a few invoices for us, it looks
Yes,
like.
we have an invoice from Senior Town Council, Charles Arulis. The invoice that you have in front of you has a balance carried over from June, but the amount for July that needs to be approved is $13,750, which I recommend the board approve.
I'll make a motion to approve legal bills for Charles Zaroulis for $13,750 as recommended by the town manager.
Okay, we have a motion to approve.
I will second that.
Second. All those in favor of approving the invoice in front of us for Senior Town Council Charles Rulis, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes aye as well, that's unanimous.
And there are 4 bills for Fairley Brown, Kevin Fairley. The first is in the amount of $4,690.22. The second is in the amount of $3,272.50. The third is in the amount of $1,870. And the last is in the amount of $1,615. And I'd ask that the board approve all 4.
I'll make a motion to approve the bills for Feeling and Brown in the amount of $3,270.50, $1,870, $1,615. I think I missed one.
4,600.
Thank you. $4,690.22 as presented and recommended by the town manager.
I will second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the 4 invoices for Feely and Brown. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes aye as well. Okay. Now, Mr. Montori, we're going to vote on individual articles for special town meeting, which of course is on October 4th. Everybody has that in their calendars, I'm sure, at home. We're going to vote on these particular warrant articles as a group and discuss them in more depth at our next meeting in a few weeks. But I ask that you just give us a quick rundown and any particular issues that we need to just have a heads up for that meeting.
Sure. Just briefly, the warrant for special town meeting is similar to what we've seen in the past at our special town meetings in October. What we normally do at special town meeting, we, after understanding our financial situation for FY17 more clearly than we did, obviously, when we set the budget, we adjust budgets in one of the articles. And in Article 1, at the special town meeting, we adjust the town and school budget for FY17 in the amount of $1,146,027. That is a raise and appropriate article, so we are raising funds because we have additional money from state aid in the amount of $391,000 approximately, and we have additional funds in new growth. I originally projected new growth, which is new value to our tax base, to be $800,000 for FY17, but in fact, we're going to be closer to $1.6 million by the time it's certified. So between the state aid being higher than projected and the new growth, there was available funds to spend on priorities that were not funded when we set the budget in May at annual town meeting. So Article 1, standard to previous years, addresses those priorities, which I'll go over in more detail at the next meeting. We have a standard article on for unpaid bills. There is one this year. We also have two articles that address an issue that the board discussed this past April-May timeframe, most likely, regarding the Lowell sewer assessment, where the assessment was actually lower than we had in the budget that was approved at town meeting. The lower assessment allowed the board myself to lower sewer rates, and we needed to go back to town meeting in October to actually vote to lower the Lowell sewer assessment, which we have two articles that address lowering the Lowell sewer assessment, as well as debt that was going to be shifted to the tax levy. And again, that allowed sewer rates to be lowered. We have a standard article that we've had in previous years that money is transferred from free cash, $763,890 to address one-time capital projects and equipment for town budgets. In general, this is something that we do each fall to address items and capital items that we were not able to address in May, now that we have an understanding of what free cash was certified at. And it also addresses items that were not anticipated during the budget process, but came up in the few months afterwards that need to be addressed in October. Free cash was certified on the amount of $4,916,361 as of July 1, 2016. At this town meeting, we're going to spend a portion of that money on these items in what is Article 5. We're also going to spend some of that free cash in Article 6, $460,000 for school one-time items. We're also going to utilize free cash in this warrant to provide additional funding for our senior tax relief program. That's in Article 11. We're looking for additional $25,000. Per the board's financial policy, we've set aside $600,000 of free cash for snow and ice. You won't see that in the warrant, but that's set aside for future use. Again, per the board's financial policy, $350,000 will be transferred to the other post-employment benefits account, which is Article 12. And then the biggest, in my mind, one of the more important articles is to transfer, Article 13, to transfer $2,442,051 to the stabilization fund. from that balance of free cash. This not only replenishes what was spent in May, but adds to that amount. Again, that's in Article 13 of the warrant. So just briefly, free cash is generated at the end of a fiscal year because of surplus revenue that came in over our projections. It's also money that was turned back in budgets. Free cash this year was mostly generated, approximately $3.2 million was generated from local receipts coming in higher than I projected for FY16 for a variety of reasons, which I'll go into detail next week, or in 2 weeks. Budgets turned back $811,000 to free cash, and then there was a variety of other items that contributed to the $4.9 million. It's higher than we had last year. It's not the highest amount we've seen. It's about 5% of our budget, which is our total budget, which is a good number. I don't think we've exceeded 5% of our budget for what our levels of free cash have been. So this is good news for us. It's not something we have every year. We have free cash, but not at this level. And I think the use that you'll see in the warrant is a good use of the free cash. But again, in 2 weeks, I'll go into more detail and explain more about free cash. The remainder of the warrant, we're accepting a newly adopted state statute to create a special education reserve fund. And then we're going to, in another article, transfer $725,000 into that reserve fund that was set aside at the previous town meeting for special education out of district tuition. We are going to transfer money from free cash to the FY17 School Department Circuit Breaker Fund, one of the articles that was closed out at the end of the fiscal year. We're also going to spend some water retained earnings at town meeting, $710,000 to address a water distribution project we want to do, as well as purchase some equipment. Retained earnings, like free cash, is money that is turned back at the end of the year from budgets, but also revenue from water enterprise fund came in higher than projected this year. Our water retained earnings were $3,212,346, and from that, that included $1 million carried over from the previous year in retained earnings. 1.1 was from rates that were higher than projected, and then 470,000 turned back from the budget. So there were some other items involved, but that gives you a good idea where retained earnings came from. And I'll go into more detail at the next meeting. Just of note, the Sewer Enterprise Fund had retained earnings of $3,661,108. And that was made up of $1,777,282 from the previous fiscal years. The budgets turned back $312,000. Revenue projections from rates was about $411,000, higher than projected for in-town rates. And we took in $694,000 more from our exempt property and out-of-town rates than we projected. So that made up a chunk of the new retained earnings. So again, I keep saying I'll go into more detail so residents know at the next meeting. We're not spending any retained earnings from sewer at this town meeting. We have capital and sewer that we'll address at the May town meeting. Other articles, we have 3 community preservation articles at the upcoming town meeting. We have 2 articles that will accept, again, newly adopted state statutes for traffic signs and speed limit signs throughout the town. Article asking the board to accept a gift of land near the water treatment plant. We have an article to amend article that was adopted at town meeting in May regarding the sale of 1057 South Street to allow 3 houses to be built on that property instead of the 2 that was restricted by town meeting in May. Article 21, I'm looking to change the town bylaw to allow for town bylaws and general articles to be acted upon on the first night of annual town meeting, so in case we end early, we don't go home, we continue to act on articles, and then leave zoning for the last night. I'll get back to Article 22, but Article 23 is what was previously discussed by Mr. Ginsburg on Settlers Way, accepting that as a town road. And then finally, there is an article, right now there's two articles, regarding the appointment of the Council on Aging members. There are two articles on there at the moment. The board, if they would, I'd ask that they adopt one of them so I can delete the other and post the warrant on Friday. And this issue is about the appointment of the Council on Aging members. Right now, the appointments are made, 6 of them by the council chairman, 5 of them by the Board of Selectmen. That is unique in the community compared to the other boards that are appointed. It's actually unique to the Commonwealth. I don't think many, if any, council have their chairman appoint them. So I wrote 2 articles to see which one the board, if any, they would like to move forward with. One gives the board the appointment of all 11, and the other gives the board the appointment of 6 members and the chairman the appointment of 5. So I didn't know if the board had any thoughts on either article.
Any commentary or questions, discussion relative to the dueling Article 22s?
I had brought this up prior to the articles being drafted, and I believe that I actually requested, because at that time, the town manager had not had the opportunity to discuss it with the Council on Aging. If I'm correct, Mr. Montori, at this time you have had discussion with the Council on Aging, and they too have kind of come to the same thing where they have 2 articles, where the chairman currently feels that the majority of the second article, which gives the Board of Selectmen the 6 and then the 5, with the appointments being voted on by the majority of the council